It's a dark and rainy day in the Commonwealth as we make our way east from Listening Post Bravo towards the coast. As we make our way over a hill, the silhouette of what appears to be a pre-war factory comes into view. This is Longneck Lukowski's Cannery, a factory that appears to have survived the Great War relatively unscathed, unlike the buildings that surround it. Upon entering, we can listen in on an argument between a resident of Vault 81 and a man who we can assume is the owner of the company.
You can only take 10 cans? You know, it tastes better than that old Graham or Brahmin that's been sitting out in the sun for days. There are people out there who are hungry. You just gotta sell up the product a bit more.
I'm sorry, but 10 cans is all I can commit to right now. It was selling like crazy for a while there, but there's been talk about people getting sick.
People get sick all the time. That has nothing to do with my product. Besides, I mean, I'm only selling the meat you people bring me. If there's something wrong with it, it's your own damn fault.
Oh, so now it's my fault? Forget it, the deal's off. You want to sell your product to the people out there? Then you can get out there and do it your damn self.
What? Hey, come on. Fine, leave. You'll be back. Bitch.
Well, that was dramatic. To learn more about the argument that just transpired in front of us, we can talk to Theodore Collins.
Distributors. Always trying to talk their way into a bigger cut of the profit. I'm Theodore Collins, and I run Longneck Lukowski's, purveyor of the finest canned food in all the Commonwealth. We buy old cans and the best meat the Commonwealth has, so we can offer the finest product on the market. Looking to take a few cans home with you?
Might be. Let's see what you've got.
A great price for a great product.
Looking at Theodore's inventory, you have to wonder how this guy's even in business. Let's see, he's got some potted meat, some radroach meat, some Meyerlurk meat, and just 226 caps. Yes, here at Longneck Lukowski's Cannery, business is booming. Not.
Bet you work up quite an appetite traveling. Wouldn't you like to sate that hunger? With a good can of Longneck Lukowski's.
What was that about people getting sick?
Look, she was just angling for a better deal. A few people may have gotten sick, but I mean, a couple of contaminated cans doesn't mean it isn't still the best product. Are you interested in buying some of Longneck Lukowski's delicious canned meat?
Not interested right now.
Tell your friends, Longneck Lukowski's. It's the best.
In the center of the room is a table with several cans of potted meat spread out across it, and along the perimeter we find a number of nautical items, from model boats to captain's hats to life preservers and buoys. Looks like Theodore, or whoever was in this building before him, was a big fan of the sea life. There's a doorway to the north, but it's blocked off by furniture and debris, so instead we can travel south into a connecting room, but when we do...
You're welcome to have a look, but stay out of the old basement. It isn't safe down there.
Stay out of the basement, huh? Do you really care about our safety, Theodore, or are you just trying to hide something from us? If I'm being honest, something about your entire operation here just seems, I don't know, odd. There's a dead rad stag lying on the table that Theodore was no doubt getting ready to butcher, and nearby we find a Nuka-Cola machine with a Nuka-Cola inside of it. Passing through a door to the west, we find 3 Mr. Handys operating a conveyor belt, upon which are several slabs of meat from a number of creatures commonly found out in the wasteland. There's even a few creatures that have yet to be butchered, including a wild mongrel, another rad stag, and a mole rat. After climbing up some stairs to the north, we find a big red button on a pre-war console. Pressing it reveals the entrance to a dark tunnel down on the production floor, which we can follow north and then exit to the west. There's a toolbox on the ground that we can loot, and since it was hard to see, I decided that it would be a good time to try out my new red headlamp that I installed on my power armor. If we head east and then turn to the south, we find a skeleton on top of 4 straw pillows. Next to him is some psycho and a first aid kit that we can loot, as well as a cooler with some Radaway inside. I'm not quite sure whether this person died from the chems or the bombs, and on top of that, I also don't know whether he was trapped back here or if he was a worker that was simply hiding from his boss. If you know the answer to either of these questions, let me know in the comments below. Heading back out to the production floor and then traveling back up the stairs, we come to a mid-level with a few different paths for us to take. There's a second button and some stairs to the south, a door to the north, and more stairs leading up to another level to the west. If we press the button, another tunnel is revealed down on the production floor, but strangely, it's blocked off by a table full of potted meat. As we turn to exit, we notice that there are a number of enemies marked on our compass, but I couldn't seem to find them. I'm not sure whether this was a glitch in the game or just an elusive creature waiting for the right time to strike. In any event, if we go back to the mid-level, we can attempt to pass through the door to the north, but it's chained shut. So instead we can head west up the stairs to the upper level. In the center of the room, we find a fish that looks as though it was butchered not too long ago. Boy, Theodore really is throwing everything in the kitchen sink into his product, isn't he? On the eastern wall, we find a conveyor belt that we can follow, but sadly there's nothing at the end of it as far as loot is concerned. Instead, we can turn back and press a third button towards the western side of the room, which, much to my surprise, activates an elevator. I actually had to jump down onto it before it made its full descent. Good thing I had my power armor to protect me from fall damage. The elevator takes us down into the basement, the same basement that Theodore explicitly told us to stay away from. This starts the quest, Mystery Meat. There's a terminal sitting on a desk along the southern wall, which we quickly learn contains 4 log entries from Theodore Collins himself. The first log reads, "Let's see if this old terminal still works. Seems to be more or less intact. Got the robots working, but I'm still reading up on how to use the canning retorts. It looks like they're broken, but apparently this place was built on the ruins of an even older cannery. So I'm going to try to see if there's any parts to scavenge." In the second log, Theodore writes, "Running about a week behind schedule, but I've got the retorts up and running again. Managed to find the parts I needed, though it took longer than expected when some ghouls broke through the wall. One of the traders I've been talking to got here before I had things ready, and half of the meat he sold me spoiled before I could get it canned. Had to mix in some meat from the mole rats I found down here, but who's gonna know the difference?" The third log, titled Explosion, reads, "Damn it, Retort 2 blew a hole in the side, and the explosion shook loose some of the bricks down here. Took out part of the damn walkway. That hole in the wall widened and more ghouls kept coming in. I'm going to have to get a fence set up down here to keep them out." Sounds like things started to go downhill for Theodore pretty fast. But as we learn in the fourth log entry, he was able to find a way to make the best of what was otherwise a horrible situation. Even running with only 1 retort, this has been working out way better than I could have hoped. The book I found on marketing really seems to be doing the trick. Only problem now is that the traders can't ever seem to bring me enough meat. I've been having to mix in more and more mole rat. Shame, since I've always thought they were kind of cute. I've got to find some other meat to use if I'm going to keep up this level of production. Well, that explains why we found everything from radsag meat to wild mongrel down on the production floor. Theodore was desperate to keep up with demand for his product, so he was forced to constantly look for different types of meat to package up and sell to the people of the Commonwealth. Sadly, the quality of his product diminished in the process. There's a set of double doors to the south, but they're locked, forcing us to go back to the terminal to open them before moving forward. After passing through, we get rushed by some feral ghouls. I searched every corner of this chamber, but there was nothing here other than some wooden crates and debris, so we can continue moving forward by passing through a hole in the wall to the east. We find ourselves inside of a dark, musty sewer system, and not surprisingly, we get ambushed by more feral ghouls. If we descend down into the water, we find a skeleton lying at the mouth of the tunnel. Next to him is a 10mm pistol, leading us to believe that he had become trapped down here with the feral ghouls and decided to turn his gun on himself. After traveling north across a couple of pipes and then turning to the east, we can follow a winding passageway into yet another chamber that, incidentally, looks quite similar to the previous one. Just like before, we get attacked by 4 feral ghouls. On the eastern side of the room, we find a rather sad scene. 2 skeletons resting on the dirt floor, their hands still locked in a loving embrace. In between them is a stim pack. Perhaps one of them tried to save the life of the other, but in the end, they both had the same tragic fate. After looting a couple of gas canisters nearby, we can make our way around to the other side of the room and then travel south into a third chamber. There's a pool of murky water in the center of the room, but before we can explore any further, more feral ghouls attack. With no more hallways for us to travel through, we're left with no choice but to descend into the sewer water and wade into a tunnel. We're gonna need a shower after this one. After taking out another ghoul, we notice that the tunnel branches into 2 separate paths, one to the west and one to the north. I decided to take my chances and choose the northern path in my playthrough, which incidentally turned out to be the only path forward. The good news is that we found our way out of the gross sewer water. The bad news is that the feral ghouls just won't stop coming. After entering another winding passageway to the north, we find ourselves in a large chamber with several pillars and, you guessed it, more ghouls. Looking up, we notice that there's a system of bridges and catwalks above our head, which we can reach by traveling up some stairs to the north. The wooden bridge forks into 2 directions, one to the southeast and the other to the west. If we choose the path to the west, we find a large generator with a fusion core for us to loot. But after taking just a few more steps to the north, somebody set up landmines down here. Could that somebody be Theodore? And if so, what is it that he's trying to deter people from? As we follow the path forward, we find a number of other traps that we can disarm, though admittedly some are harder to spot than others. There's an ammo box sitting on a desk that we can loot, and after making our way up some steps to the east, we find a duffel bag resting on a storage shelf. But before we have a chance to loot it, we get attacked by a machine gun turret. After taking out the turret, we can finish looting the duffel bag for a nuke mine and a pipe pistol, as well as a novice-locked first aid kit that contains purified water and a stim pack. Traveling up some stairs and then entering a room to the west, we finally discover why Theodore warned us not to go into the basement. Resting on a table, we find the dismembered body of a glowing one, and inside of a bin next to the table are more dead ghouls. In order to keep up with demand, Theodore had been butchering ghouls, packaging the meat, and selling it to the people of the Commonwealth. On a shelf above the glowing one is an ammo box that we can loot, and to the south is a chain-locked door, the same chain-locked door that we saw earlier from out near the production floor.
I told you to stay out of the basement! Now that you know my little secret, I'll just have to kill you.
Upon learning that we have discovered his secret, Theodore becomes hostile, along with all three of the Mr. Handys that had been working around the conveyor belt. In order to reach Theodore to confront him about this atrocity, we can walk south along the conveyor belt and then drop down onto a catwalk, which leads straight into Theodore's office. If we choose to kill him on sight, then the quest ends and we can loot his body for some ammo, a rifle, clothes, and the key to Longneck Lukowski's cannery. Also in Theodore's office is an unlocked steamer trunk with some caps and armor, and on top of a destroyed terminal we find the barter bobblehead, which permanently makes prices 5% better. On the desk next to the terminal we find a copy of Tales of a Junktown Jerky Vendor, which permanently gives us better prices when buying from a vendor. We also find a weapons workbench in the southeast corner of the room, and a locked security gate, which we can open by hacking a nearby novice-locked terminal. Inside of the security gate is a short combat shotgun. There is another possible ending for this quest, though. Instead of killing Theodore on the spot, we can point our gun at him until, out of fear for his life, he makes us an offer.
Whoa, whoa! Hey, look, it doesn't have to be this way. Look, we can run this place together. You look the other way and I'll give you a cut of the profits.
Fine, but don't cross me again.
Oh, man! I thought you were gonna kill me for sure. Woo! Here's your cut. I'll get this place cleaned up and I'll even give you a discount on the meat.
To see if Theodore would uphold his end of the bargain, I went back out into the Commonwealth, rested for about a week, and then returned to the cannery.
Hey there.
If it isn't my favorite customer. You buying something?
Where's my cut of the profit?
Oh, yeah. Here's your cut.
Apparently, our silence is only worth 48 caps to Theodore, so in my playthrough, I decided that it would just be best to put an end to his miserable existence. If there's one thing that Bethesda knows how to do better than most, it's how to walk that very fine line between fantasy and reality. Obviously, there are no companies in existence that package ghoul meat and sell it to unsuspecting customers, primarily because, well, there's no such thing as ghouls. But in my opinion, Bethesda was trying to parody how many real-world companies operate when they struggle to keep up with demand. In many cases, businesses resort to unethical measures to keep money flowing in, and the result is corruption that either goes unnoticed or is eventually exposed to the entire population. But I'd love to know what you think, folks. How did you end the quest in your playthrough? Did you kill Theodore on the spot, or did you strike a deal with him and collect a portion of his profits? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, consider clicking on the thumbs up icon below to show your support, or better yet, subscribe to my channel so that you can stay up to date on all of my latest content. I post new videos on Fallout 4 every single Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, so be sure to check back next week for more Fallout lore, commentary, and analysis. For those who are fans of the Elder Scrolls, I also post lore videos on Skyrim every Friday, so be sure to check those out as well. But that's all for now, folks. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.